Hello, my name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and I am a vegan confidence coach that specializes in helping vegans who live with non-vegans navigate challenges and build confidence in being who they are. Today, my special guest is Amit Gambhir. Amit is a minimalist and a lifelong learner with over a decade of entrepreneurial experience in the e-learning industry. He has helped multinational corporations implement standard operating procedures to help create behavioral change in their employees. Over the years, his interest grew in environmental health and safety. After relocating to the UK, Amit chose to focus on sustainable nutrition as his quest moving forward. The knowledge, certifications, and badges he has received allowed him to develop an initiative known as SyNCUP. Welcome, Amit.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Jennifer, and thank you for inviting me to your channel. This is my first ever interview, and I'm so glad that it is with the Confident Vegan.
Well, I'm so honored to have you on as a first interview. We met a couple of weeks ago at a networking event, and I was really interested about the work, and we chatted a little bit more about your work. And so, I feel like you have some great information to share with my audience. So, thanks again for spending the time to be here.
It's my pleasure.
So, what inspired you to be vegan?
This is a long answer, actually. Uh, I'm proud to have been born in an Indian vegetarian and a religious household. And I was so protected by my family. To be honest, until I turned 13, I never knew that people ate animals in the first place. The censorship was so good and so strong that even while we were watching television, a cooking show or something, and if the pre-cap hints that the next recipe after this break is going to be so and so, non-veg, chicken or mutton, my parents would just switch the channel. So I never really saw any recipes as well. So in India, people have dedicated days to eat non-vegetarian food. So if on a Friday or a Sunday, the neighbor is cooking flesh, then my parents would just close all the doors and windows to avoid the stench. And while going on the road, if there were butchers on the road, we would either cross the road so that we don't see anything. And even today, in many parts of India, flesh is still sold in or packaged in black opaque polythene bags so that no one can see the blood. So this is the kind of environment that I grew in. And when I went from school to college, my circle grew and I could meet more people, socialize more with my friends. And I understood that people ate animals because they were tasty. And I felt disgusted about it. And some of my friends even have been eating meat since they were children because that is what their household promoted, eat meat to grow strong. And they started mocking me for being skinny. And those who promoted eating meat for health, sadly, their own parents didn't live that long. And I feel really bad even for their parents now. And I wish I could have raised my voice and told them, made my point clear that it is not okay to eat animals. It may have saved or helped them understand and probably even saved their lives. So I did look skinny back then, weighing just 45 kgs and 5.5 feet at the age of 15. But I believed that I lived a cruelty-free lifestyle and this was about to change. I first came across the word vegan in 2005 when PETA, they visited my college. I'm a commercial artist, so we did a lot of paintings and had brushes. And PETA had come to us, to our college, to specifically talk about animal cruelty in the use of paint brushes, how animal hair is used in the bristles or cosmetic industry or pharmaceutical drugs testing on animals. And it was easy to avoid those. This is what they told us. Then the topic switched to eating meat. And I was very much confident, yeah, I don't eat meat. I don't eat animals. Then the topic switched to dairy. and I was shaken to my core. My world just changed. After learning that our religious land of India, where we worshipped all the animals, was also a leader in beef export. And it just didn't make any sense at first. But when I saw the statistics, yes, we all consume dairy products 2 times, 3 times a day. And after the animals run dry out of milk, they are slaughtered for their beef and leather. And when I confronted my parents about it, my parents were so proud. I told them that I don't want to support any animal cruelty. My parents were, wow, that is a good decision. I was just 15 years old. But when I sat down for my dinner, and there was buttermilk in it, there was ghee on the rice, I told them I won't be consuming dairy products as well. And that's where everything changed. Because things went out of hand. Back in 2005, there were hardly any vegan products. And I didn't really have any control of what food products came to my house. And my parents, in the meanwhile, lack of products availability, they managed to convince me that our lifestyle was the best and there was no cruelty involved. Probably it just all happens, whatever the footages I had seen were happening in the Western world. And in India, we don't treat our animals like that. And whatever I saw was probably a lie, or some sort of propaganda by the organization. And I fell to it. And uh, I still didn't believe that I won't consume dairy products. Uh, my parents told me that you're going to be undernourished and will die. So that again scared me. So, like everyone else who tries to go vegan at first and fails, I failed miserably. So miserably that 13 years later, in 2018, I had gained weight from 45 kilograms to 76 kilograms. I was diagnosed with prediabetes, triglycerides, cholesterol, borderline or high thyroid issues, excessive sweating, urticaria, everything. I had all the problems in my body that people my age, I was 31 back then, shouldn't have. And the fact is, this is a new normal, is what we see. Children age 10 are going obese, teenagers age 17 onwards are getting diabetes. At 30, people are dying of heart attack. And I have seen some of my friends getting heart attack as well. And I was the next, and I was not the alone. The sad part is I had a year-old daughter now, my elder one. She was 1 year old when I realized this. So we were in the pristine mountains of Bhutan, and we were trekking, me, my wife, and my daughter. And I started sweating profusely, and it wasn't that steep either. And my wife, my daughter, and even the tour guide, he was doing well. So there was something wrong with me. Temperature was around 2 degrees, 3 degrees. So I shouldn't have been sweating that much. And it wasn't just that particular instance, but in previously back in Mumbai as well, the temperatures reached 35, 38. And I blamed it on the weather, that the weather is bad, so I'm sweating or something like that. But over here, this wasn't the case. And then I realized, oh, there is something wrong inside my body. When we came back from the trip, we did all the blood work and the reports were out. All the symptoms were clearly stating that there's a problem in my body. My father, he worked for Pfizer. It's an American company, pharmaceutical company. And my father believes that all the healthcare related problems can be solved by medicine and doctors. So he took me to a doctor. The only appointment time I got was midnight 12. And I thought, which doctor works at midnight? At least I would probably get my appointment quickly and get diagnosis quickly. But sadly, that wasn't the case either. There were 30 people at the clinic at midnight, all of us all of us going through a lifestyle disease. And That's when I realized that something is wrong with the entire system itself. When I entered the doctor's cabin, usually we go to family doctor. In India, it is a very much common practice that we say um, doctors would recommend that you're facing this issue, you should eat this or you should avoid that kind of food. But here in this case, the doctor just saw my reports and started writing prescription on his letterhead. And I was like, ask me something. Or should I ask you, what do I eat or what not? What changes should I make in my lifestyle? The doctor said, no, it's clear in your reports. You just have to start taking these medicines.
Hmm.
And when they write the dosage, they write one a day or two a day. And then for how many days? That's the most important one, because that's how you buy the medicine. I asked him, how long do I have to take this? He said, you have to take this for lifetime now. And I was, no way I'm going to do that. And I have to change myself. So we came out of the doctor's clinic, and there are pharmaceutical stores which are open 24 by 7 now. And I was thinking, why are pharmaceutical stores open at midnight? That means there are these many patients as well. And all because of, and it wasn't like an emergency situation where someone had an accident and had to access the medical store. It's a lifestyle disease,
Hmm.
right? So when we bought those medicines, and I still haven't opened the seal of it. We still have those expired medicines in the shelf at home back in India. And I told my parents that I'm going to change my lifestyle and I'm going to go vegan. And this time I had to do it for my daughter, for my health. I went vegan overnight, but this time I was more determined. And it's been over 5 years that I'm vegan, over 4 years that I'm advocating for the voiceless. My elder daughter joined me as well, and my younger daughter, age 3.5, she is born vegan. My wife, she joined us later too. So my health is in the best shape, and I have never felt any better.
Thank you for
That's so
sharing.
long.
No, but I appreciate you sharing because there's a lot of things that I can relate to in different ways.
Yeah.
I grew up with meat in the household, and even though growing up I knew it was an animal, I didn't really think too much of it because
Mhm.
that's when you're conditioned to eat a certain way, that's what
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
used to. And um, I liked eating vegetables and I liked eating different foods, but I just grew up in that it was just normal, right? I grew up in Syracuse, New York, which is in the middle of New York State here in the
Okay.
US. So,
Yeah.
and then around 2012, I started paying attention to how sodium played a role in my health.
Yeah.
My mother had died from a heart attack and
Yeah.
was pre-diabetic in 2007, and my father had heart disease and heart failure and sadly passed away last year from a whole culmination
Oh.
of health issues and diabetes. And so having parents who's both had poor health, it made me really start to pay attention to foods, more so sodium first. And
Yeah.
then in 2014 is when I noticed how dairy was impacting how I felt. It was making my skin break out. I was having skin issues.
Right.
I was having sinus issues, and I just didn't feel well. And I took a break. I decided to experiment, and I took a break from dairy for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed, wow, I feel the best I felt in a while.
Yeah.
And then I went back to having some dairy and instantly like I felt worse. And sometimes you have to create that awareness, you have to take a break from something and then bring it back. And so when I had dairy, when I was cutting out dairy, I was looking up dairy-free recipes. So a lot of
Yeah.
vegan
Mm-hmm.
recipes were coming up. And
Right.
that's when I realized there's all these amazing recipes and flavors and foods using healthier ingredients. You can make delicious desserts using various blends of oats and
Yeah.
vegetables. And, I've made sweet potato, brownies and, different
Yeah.
things. And it's, and it, and it tastes like the comfort foods that we love, but it's
Right.
got healthier ingredients. And I also noticed more and more, like I wanted to be vegan. I saw the health benefits in it, but having family who wasn't vegan, and I was caught up in my head of how are people going to judge me? What are people going to think of me? And it took a couple of years to finally get to that place within myself where, okay, I'm going to do this for me.
Hmm.
My family doesn't have to be vegan. And it was just finding that space of how to do it for myself. And so I appreciate you sharing your story, because everyone, I think there's something relatable in the
Yeah.
different parts of it. And yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about food. More and more, I think there's more information now out that
Yes,
supports um, eliminating animal products and the impact that it causes. Dairy can cause inflammation and a lot of other issues.
absolutely.
Meat meat was impacting my digestion, and of course, if you eat a lot of red meat, that can impact cholesterol. And
Yeah.
there's more doctors becoming aware of these things, but there's
Yes.
still, like you said, a lot of the time you go to a doctor, they just want to write you prescriptions
Yes.
for pills
Right.
instead of addressing it from the root cause.
Yep.
And so I think your story was very important. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And so now, can you share a little bit more about what has inspired you to do the work that you do now?
Okay. So like I mentioned before, I'm a commercial artist and I studied advertising. We studied color theory, basic human desires, and copywriting around it. So I was taught that everything that enabled me to sell anything to anyone, not to offend anyone, but my course was built in such a way that I could sell a comb to a bald person or a pen to an illiterate who cannot write. And this is using graphics and copywriting and colors theory. So I used my knowledge and skills of designing and storytelling to help my clients achieve their goals. Mostly it was to bring in a behavioral change at work, prevention of sexual harassment or cybersecurity or improving their soft skills, but mostly for health, safety, and environment. And I kept on listening to this term EHS or sustainability from my clients for the past 12 years. When I took a career break and moved to UK to support my wife and her decision in career, um, I relocated as a spouse, and most of my time I spent with my daughters doing activism on streets, speaking up for the animals, and I was also actively listening. And that's when I realized that uh, people don't know that they have been lured by advertisement and jingles, and they fail to see cruelty in this because of the graphics, and they fail to see how unhealthy they are because of it and why. And they don't see how it also affects our climate. There's a ignorance about climate. We talk about climate only when we are going for a picnic and the weather is bad. Only then we talk about it. And the way to bring them out is through awareness that brings in the behavioral change. And it was a eureka moment when I got back from activism. I determined to put my knowledge to better use, help people to make some rational decisions, and apply logic before their senses. And that's how Logic Sense was born. I registered a company called Logic Sense Limited. And the purpose is to build this triple gap between um, climate, between health, between employee well-being, and I started building SyNCUP. So SyNCUP is sustainability, nutrition, and care universal platform. It's a long one. And for this, I need nutritionists, doctors, chefs, psychologists, sustainability leaders, designers, game developers, and even farmers to join SyncUp and support me in this mission to bring in behavioral change so that we can do better, become better version of ourselves. So that's SyNCUP.
That sounds like some really great work. And it's interesting how our lives take us in one direction and we learn a bunch of different things. And then we end up someplace else in our life and we find another way to incorporate our skills as well as fuse other parts of our experiences.
Yeah,
So, wow, that sounds like some really great work that you're doing.
thank
Um,
you.
and so, what are some other ways to look at veganism? I think there's a lot of misconceptions about veganism. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So, what are some
Yeah.
other ways to look at it?
I truly believe that the only way to look at veganism is with affection for animals. And I read this beautiful line on a signage that read, "The only thing we must expect from animals is forgiveness."
Mm.
But sadly, we are living in times where people use technology to promote hatred and violence against people itself. So,
Yeah.
what veganism does is it effectively awakens the consciousness, and that's the only way to survive. Being conscious about your surroundings, about people around you, about environment, about the biodiversity. You and it is unbelievable that there are certain people who have like, divided land and colors and flowers and even animals based on religion. There are
Mhm.
certain uh, flowers which are considered auspicious and certain which are bad in terms of religion. There's certain animals um, considered as taboo in one religion but not another. And this is called as speciesism, right? So veganism helps you realize that this is all human created. These are fictitious things, right? Our ancestors had made some great discoveries and left their research and knowledge with some good intentions. All we had to do was to understand and maintain its purity, but following down traditions, we just added our own set of rules and just messed up everything. So I see veganism as a way to go back to our roots, become humans again. And if we say health and environment, they are just bonuses of veganism.
Yeah, there are a lot of bonuses. When I first started, it was for health reasons, but
Right.
then it went from there. It was, I started watching documentaries. One I watched was Vegucated. Not sure if you saw that one. That was a really good one about a group of people living in New York City being put on a vegan challenge for a month.
Wow.
And they learn about animal agriculture and the health
Mhm.
and that started a little bit more about that for me. Forks Over Knives is another great documentary that created a lot of awareness for me on my body and everything else. And as I dove more into that, you realize all these other different ways that it all
Yeah.
and it's like what you know it's about being compassionate, awareness. I became more aware
Yes.
about the things. And it's not about being perfect, but anything that you can do, even if it's a meatless Monday, right? That's
Yeah.
one less thing at a time. I'm very big on promoting gradual change because that's how
Mm.
we're the most successful, right?
Yeah.
Some people can change things overnight, but especially if we're conditioned to live a certain way,
Right.
it's not about shaming yourself or shaming others, but however you can be more compassionate in the world and
Exactly. Exactly.
um and so yeah, so you were going to share, so I know you have some stories to share about positive impacts of veganism. So what are some positive impacts?
So after I went vegan from the first day itself, uh, I felt peaceful mentally. And within 6 months, I could see the difference even physically. And I didn't know that at first that I was going to get better at a lot of other aspects of life as well. One day, me and my daughter, we were sitting and painting a T-shirt, writing vegan on it. And my wife, she clicked a picture of both of us painting. And she showed it to me, and then I was zooming in to see if it was in focus or not. And behind, uh, in the picture and the backdrop, we see there's a fish tank at home. And I did bring a fish tank at home because my mother, she was, um, say, struggling with her blood pressure issues. I read it somewhere that having a fish tank at home, looking at the motion of this fish, helps you lower down your blood pressure. Someone suggested that with feng shui or some science that says that if you keep fish in the water body in at a particular direction, then that brings you prosperity. And my daughter asked me, why do we have this fish tank at home? I told her about all this. This is what happens. These are the positive effects of having fish at home. And then she asked me, what does it give the fish?
Mm.
And this is a answer to me. And I said, sorry. Then she asked me, is this their natural habitat? And I said, no, it is not their natural habitat. Then we should change it. And there was a pond next to my house, and immediately after we finished the painting, we got the fish out of the tank, got them in a carry bag, and released them in the pond. And we saw the fish just moving around swiftly, and they vanished, just vanished.
Wow.
And it was so nice to, yeah, so nice. And I thought I have been vegan for 6 months, but I don't understand it. There are so many aspects that my daughter was teaching me. It was a natural instinct that she had. And I was surprised. I said, "You're my guru. I'll follow what you say now." Um, whatever I used to learn, I used to share with my elder one. Meanwhile, in 2020, my younger daughter was born, and she kept on listening to whatever fell on her ears and whatever was her understanding. And me and my elder one, we used to have a lot of conversations about it, and we used to go out for activism as well. I never took my younger one, but when my wife used to ask what happened, or so we used to say this is what happened, or this is the new product. When we go to supermarket, picking up products on the aisle, I used to read, and my younger one used to nag, "Let's go quickly out of the store. Store is not a good place. Otherwise, they start touching here and there, and that's not a good place." So I used to teach my elder one, see, this is the vegan symbol. You have to look at this product when you buy anything. And I never realized that my younger one was following this or observing this as well. I never had this conversation with her. When she
Mm.
went to her nursery, one fine day I got a call from her nursery teacher saying, when you come to pick her up, just get here 10 minutes early. I thought maybe something has happened. I went there. And she told us that your daughter can read labels and she is teaching us about veganism. I said, what? That is surprising. She's just 2.5 years old. She can't read anything yet. And she said, no, I poured something. I gave her something in the plate, and she said, this is not vegan. And when I looked at the packet and it wasn't vegan, and I was so proud that subliminally this message is passing on to my daughter without, it wasn't intentional, but she could download that data from just observing things and derive on her own decisions. It was amazing. So veganism has got several positive impacts apart from like health and climate itself. I think I have become a better decision maker. In After going vegan, I have a filter. Whether do I need it? Whether do I want it? And whether this is necessary, and whether this is cruel.
Mhm.
So the cruelty filter comes on the top now. If it is cruel, I don't buy it. If it is something that I w- want, I don't buy it unless I need it. That there's something which is stuck up and I cannot proceed without it. Only then. So in a way, it has helped me become more sustainable and become. I'm trying to approach a minimalist lifestyle, and veganism helps me with that as well.
Thank you for sharing those stories. Yeah, first of all, awareness. I agree.
Yeah.
Vegan has made me more aware. Like, we can't change things unless we're first aware.
Yes.
And stepping into that world, I started becoming more aware of things. And I think in any aspect of life, not just veganism, but just becoming a more aware person of how your actions, whatever they might be, impact somebody else.
Yeah.
That I think is like the first step of healing the world from all of the issues the world is having, is
Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
awareness. Is what you're doing impacting everybody else
Right.
and the environment? And so awareness is so important. And it's amazing how your daughters, who are so young, are learning it, and they don't have the same conditioning that adults have, where it
Yes.
takes time to see things and become aware of things. And your daughter instantly sees this fish tank
Yes.
and see where I didn't even think of it. I'm so conditioned to seeing fish and they look peaceful swimming, but your daughter brought up a very powerful point there.
Yes.
and and just and then your 2-year-old daughter talking about veganism and labels, the fact that she's so aware.
Yeah. It was
Your
surprising,
daughters,
actually.
yeah, your daughters are the people that they connect with are going to become more aware, just to think and to question what they're doing. And yeah, and I've become, I started looking, I watched some documentaries on minimalism about 6 7 years ago, and that also helped me become more aware of what I buy, because I used to just, oh, I want this, I buy it. Especially craft supplies, I like making
Right.
things, I'm very creative, I like painting, and I would buy a lot of stuff to make one day, and then I'm like, I have my own little mini craft store at home. And
Yeah.
realizing, so now I gave away a lot of that, and I kept things where I asked myself these questions like, am I going to use this? When am I going to use this? And yeah, it's awareness. I think, yeah, veganism definitely helped create more awareness in me in just other areas in my life. And I think
Yeah.
once we become aware, we can have an impact on the environment. We can have an impact with our health. We can have an impact on humanity.
Absolutely.
All of these different ways are so important.
Yeah. Another fun thing that we do is vegans are very much different. Okay. I would like to admit it. Non-vegans are not to accuse, but restrictive. For example, when you're clicking a picture, all they say is say cheese. Whereas my daughters, they say save trees, save bees, strawberries, mulberries, and they come up with everything. And this
That's
is
very cute.
publicly when we are out at a tourist site and we are taking a selfie, and my daughters say save trees, and everybody's looking, this is different.
That's very cute. I
Yeah,
think what veganism has done for me has made me more creative.
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
become a better cook, because
Yeah,
before, I think, most people think salads are boring, but when I started, now my salads are like a meal in themselves. Like, you can put so many different things on a salad,
yes,
not just lettuce and cucumbers and tomatoes. You can put roasted vegetables and chickpeas
yes,
and all these different things, and you have a filling meal. And it really inspired creativity in me for as a cook. And I feel like I'm a much better cook now
yes, indeed.
than when I
Yes,
was. And also just all the different spices, because there's so many, international cuisines out there I wouldn't have normally tried, but finding all these amazing blends of spices, and it really helped me become a better cook. And I feel like if we can, as long as food is enjoyable
yes,
and you're not missing
absolutely.
out on anything. And I think that's the biggest misconception about veganism, is you're missing out on all this stuff. I feel like I gained more
Absolutely,
as a
yes.
vegan than not being a vegan.
Yes, we get more experimental and
Yeah,
more creative
absolutely.
with it. Yes.
Yeah, and I
So,
definitely have more fun in the kitchen.
yeah. My daughter, she ate bourbon biscuits once, and she was like, I need to buy bourbon when we were at store, and she picked up the packet. I said, what is the package looks like? She says it's plastic. I said, so should we buy it? I don't mind buying it for you, but eventually this plastic is going to get into trash. Trash is going to be dumped in the sea. And when you grow up like me, your office will take you all employees and you'll be doing beach cleanup drives and you'll find out this plastic wrapper from 2021. And then you realize this is the one that I threw it. She kept it back. But then when we came home, she asked, can we never have bourbon biscuits anymore? I said, we'll figure out a way. And we developed a recipe from millets, added some cocoa powder to it, uh, gave it a cut like bourbon biscuits, baked it, and when she came in the evening after school and play, she smelled the house and she says, "What's the smell?" And then I showed her this tray of biscuits that we baked, and she says, "This is bourbon biscuits." I said, "Yes, we made bourbon biscuits at home." We made toothpaste at home. We even now,
Really?
yes, it's been an year now that we make toothpaste, and it's just three simple ingredients. And it's vegan toothpaste. It has helped. My teeth have always been bad since childhood, and I've never taken care, but I know the pain of it, and I made sure that my daughters will enjoy. I never liked the taste of toothpaste in the first place. Either it was too minty or too sweet or too and when we make the toothpaste, we make it together. It's all about mixing the right ingredients in right proportion. And children, both my girls, they get a chance to decorate the bottle in which we fill it. So it's like an activity that we do together as a family. I'll probably share a link to the recipe as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
The
I'm
viewers will be,
curious about that. I'll any links that you share with me, any
yeah,
information, I'm also going to put the links in the notes of this video as well. That's so interesting. And it sounds like your family is connecting in different ways. And
yes,
not only did you not contribute to plastic waste, but you got to make cookies. You make the biscuits, I think, are cookies, right? Also,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, in the U.S. Just for anyone who's not in the U.S. watching, um, and then the house smells so good afterwards. So not
yes,
only you're making the house smell good, you're controlling the ingredients that goes in it.
yes, absolutely.
You're not adding to the plastic waste, all from being creative.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a really great story. Amit, it's been so great having you here.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, what are some resources that you would like to share with those watching today?
Okay, so I recently, just yesterday, I had a talk with Dr. Shailesh Rao from Climate Healers. He is the author of Carbon Yoga, Carbon Dharma, and The Pinky Promise. So he's a vegan as well. He worked at Intel, super intelligent person, PhD, developed internet technology, and he just inspires me in multiple ways. So I would recommend following climate healers, food healers. So the Pinky Promise book is also about his promise to his granddaughter that before she turns 16, the world that she would see would be majority of vegan. So it's a good book that you all should probably read, and that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'll also include the links to that below. I'll definitely check that out. Amit, it's so great having you here. What's the best way for other people to connect with you?
I'm mostly not on social media sites. I'm pretty much active on LinkedIn and SyNCUP, my own app. And so feel free to write to me on amit@sync.quest.
Okay, great. And I'll include that contact information
Yeah.
in the notes below as well. Well, Amit, thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your stories. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.